Hey, we have the honor of having Michaell Magrutsche with us today to talk about.
You even rolled that R.
I tell you what,
Magrutsche.
he deserves it.
Michaell, thank you
Fanfare.
so much. I should say that Michaell reached out to us, and we're so happy he did. And I think we're going to have an interesting discussion this morning. Michaell, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I was born in Vienna, and I left when I was like 20, in my 20s, in 1820. And I moved here to the United States, and I was always an artist. Since 6 years old, I'm an artist. My dad was a photographer. My dad gave me his old camera, which I hated, and I couldn't, it was a Canon. I never understood the aperture and time, and it came from, and then I taught myself, basically. I read all the magazines like we all did, all the photo magazines in the old times. And I was very much into slides. Because there was some magic that a photo couldn't bring, so when you project, it's like when you look at a photo of Grand Canyon or you see a slide of Grand Canyon, there's a huge difference.
Yes.
And in the experience, it's like a movie. It's like a cheap movie theater. And we did. I mean, when I was 14, 15, we had, those little Super 8s, that were, Disney Super 8s and all that stuff. And it was magic. And I think that's what still movies and photos are kind of linked still, that there's some magic, some connection in there. And I found when the moment I knew I'm going to come on, my brain went in analytical mode and said, so what is that? Why was I so intrigued? Which that's a great thing. Why am I so? I'm always asking, why am I so intrigued by this? What is really getting me captured? And why am I rather doing photography than go drinking? So
yeah, we feel you. We were there.
Yeah. So I did. So when I did a lot of photography, and this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I think I learned something from a project. First of all, it's funny. Everything is in the moment with photography. It's like we are hunters for the moment, right? Mm-hmm. We just looking for what is the right moment, and that's why you have winders and shots, multiple shots, and because we're looking for this moment that is magic, and it when you look at three pictures, three people look at the three pictures, they all say it's that. So also it shows us we are all connected. Because why would we see all the same things? It's not about, a car color. I'm not talking that. I'm saying, for example, nature or humanity. Usually, I am much more a human photographer about humanity. I capture the moment with humans. And there's way more moments with humans than when you go out there and try to do a car show, photograph a car show. The moments are not as many as when you photograph humans, because they are really the most interesting. Mm-hmm. Humans are more interesting than anything else. So what I did is I wasn't drinking, I wasn't into drugs or whatever, and I was a DJ also. So I was a DJ. So I was in all these discos and these cliques in Europe, in Vienna. And like the aristocrats, the economists, the lawyers, the doctors, and there was very cliquey then. There wasn't very intermingled. And because there were only like 3 or 4 discos where you could go, which was, before disco there was nothing, with the pub. But all of a sudden these youths could meet in a place. And that I found so interesting. And I had a little Minox and then the Olympus XA, that little, things. And I just shot slides. I did, I think, altogether, 5,000, 6,000 slides. And then not just from the parties, but I did with other people too. But then I thought, when Facebook was on, I found, this is the funny thing. I schlepped my 3,000 to 4,000 slides from Vienna to New York to Los Angeles to Laguna Beach, back. I had always this box. I said, no. And I said, I have to go after 30 years or so. I thought, I got to go through him or throw him out. Mm-hmm. And I was assuming, and this is the magic of photography, I was assuming that I'm going to throw 90% out and that I keep a couple, perhaps 100. I was not expecting more than 100. And then I looked at the photos, and every photo almost was thing. So I carried with me the 3,000 or 4,000 photos, and almost all of them were good. Some were bad, of course, but most, because I pre-selected them already, in the old times. So I have slideshows. So I looked at them, and I just put one picture up on Facebook, and nothing that I put up, my artwork, so nothing had any response compared to this. And people say, yeah, what is, so a second one, a third one. And I did this in 2016. So 2016, I put up all till 2018, when it became, the people were so intrigued, so I made an own page, a private page. People were so intrigued by it that we made a reunion 35 years later. We made a reunion where 200 people came in the center of Vienna from all over the world. And I never could have known that. There was, I didn't plan that. I just made the photos. And that's why I say, don't think with photos, you need to think short, the moment, right? But also long, because it gives you something to reflect. And something that you don't even understand when you do them. Because I thought 100 photos of 5,000, 6,000 photos, who cares, right? But then actually they become very valuable. And that was the success story of this, Yeah,
we've considered a camera as a time machine.
Yeah.
It preserves that moment in time. And yes, that is very, very important. And I was intrigued. I was also an Olympus shooter. In fact, I was an Olympus dealer at one time.
Oh, great camera. Better than Mino.
I still have my the film cameras.
Yeah, it's extremely good. The only thing is now you do it with the iPhone. iPhone became so good that... but still, it doesn't matter how good of a thing you have, because I never spent, because I never could afford it, or I never felt the need. I had a Canon A1 with all the lenses and everything, but I never took it with me. See, that's why, because I'm not photographing a lot outside, so I couldn't take it with me. It was schlepping, and it was crazy. So with the iPhone or with the XA Olympus, you had it always with you. It doesn't matter. It's just like others have a pack of cigarettes. I had an XA. It's just it was easier. What I like is about photography is when you look at it, you capture time. And then you can actually reflect. And a lot of people that I talked to that looked at these old pictures where they all were, and I was hardly in it, only if somebody took it, So I for me, it was a history reflection. For me, was when I looked at those pictures, I had a friend of mine that actually said, you need to make a party, we need to get together. And Alexandra Hutter was, she's in Vienna, and she organized the whole thing with me, basically. She, did more organizing than I did. And when we looked through the photos together, we kind of, processed our observation. And everybody's observation is always different, because 10 people look at a car accident and you will have 10 different stories.
Right.
So it was very healing. So I think the healing aspect from taking photos through your life, just to be clear about yourself. And I don't know, perhaps it helps. We should look at that. What is it with Alzheimer's? And so, because I know the Alzheimer's Association accepted art as a remedy. So you can pop a pill or paint, And so perhaps photography can go. We need to get the real human value, not just that because the technical values get less and less. You can do today everything with an iPhone. So what I think we need to focus more as a humanity is, what is that great tool offering to us on a human level, meaning history, real history, not just what the victor writes. And I think there's a lot of power in that, because the most discerning is our eyes. Mm-hmm. The most discerning sense is our eyes. So to put everything in perspective, when you hear a song, you don't know what was the artist, was it a kid, was it an old, but when you see it, it's a very matter of fact, you see it.
It's a picture's worth 1,000 words.
They actually found out it's more.
More, or 10,000, 100,000.
I don't know. No, they say that is an old saying, mm-hmm. and they found because there's so much information in it. AI even is very limited mm-hmm. compared to our brain. Our brain is wired and has connectors like crazy. No, I think photos are phenomenal, and as you know, you can't even do with photos. You can't capture everything, because sometimes a sunset might look great, but then on the photo it looks, and you can change aperture and everything. You can't copy nature. It's just so much, and so much truth in there that you can't even capture it.
Right. Absolutely.
And
correct.
I don't know if that's the experience because you are outside and see the sunset. See, those are questions that interest me. Are you experiencing something that you can't capture in a two-dimensional picture?
And you mentioned AI, and we had a commentary concern we've got going forward with mm-hmm. DALL-E and Imogen from Google. The impact of what that's going to do, because it's producing photorealistic images just based upon text. Mm-hmm. One of the examples we did a few podcasts back was a cute corgi in a doghouse made of sushi. Yeah. And it was a photograph basically, even though it mm-hmm. was all fake. I'd like your comments on that going forward. What this is going to do with artists.
I looked at that a little bit because I did also NFT and I did other stuff too. So I looked at at that, and what I feel is what happens in art right now. In art, because of technology, you don't have to be really a skilled person anymore. Mm-hmm. I think skill is number one. That's one word that we need to talk about in this. The other means, why are you important? It's a reflection of you. The image is a reflection of that touches you. So why would you give that to, I know if you need to crank out a promotional thing or whatever, and you think, hey, a wiener dog on into a strudel and whatever, you know what I mean? So for that, it's good. It's interesting to come up with text and make the photo out of it. But I think the value that you have as, and that's where I come to my thing, that art is a superpower, inert superpower of humans, because creativity is everything. So if we give creativity up, if we give that to AI, which I'm not so worried. I'm worried more that we become AI and we become robots, not that robots turn into us. Yes. So if humanity is worth anything to us, which it is because all systems are created by humanity, and all are creative done, then why would we want to give that task and skill to AI? And honestly, it's there's more and more people becoming artists too, even though 95% of artists on the poverty level worldwide, you know. But I want to say something to it. I'm not against it. I'm not against it because it's very interesting to write it, because I'm a writer, to write something and say, hey, I mean, I would love to see my book in a picture, you know, taking my last book and then just say, hey, convert that Smart of Art book into a painting. And that's an experiment, though. That's an experiment. That's not the joy. I think that this is another one. Skill, joy. So the joy of creating something. You know that creating is the most. There's no spiritual. There's no spiritual discipline more that brings you more in the moment than creating and breathing. When you consciously breathe and when you create, then you are in the moment. So that's why, and it brings you always to humanity. It brings you to our essence of our limitlessness, and perhaps even saying, you know, I did an experiment and thoughts about what happens in the creation process. So when an artist paints a painting, what is he doing? And I looked at myself, like, or when you compose a picture, or when you think about an image, or you look at an image, like, how can you're not thinking about anything else. If you have a model and you need to shoot that model right so that she gets a job, you are not thinking about anything but looking that model, man, woman, whatever it is, dog, is perfect, is that you feel it. There's no even compartmentalizing it. It's just, you have to be in the moment to feel that. And then you capture it, which means you're talking to, you know, the universe, matrix, God, whatever, and you have a conversation, a mind conversation, and says, okay, turn right, turn left, okay, let's stay a little more light. That is so in the moment. You don't think, oh my God, I need to go to the doctor tomorrow or anything. Or my wife is mad at me. You just say this, even if you have the worst wife fight with your wife, when you are in that thing, you can't think about it because you can't shoot. You can't paint when, you have to be in the moment. So that is completely gone if you push a button and let AI go. And that's the value.
Yeah,
that's the value.
That's our concern also. In fact,
that's the value of creating.
I think, and I hope I'm quoting this right, but I think it was Ansel Adams that said the camera looks both ways.
Yeah.
It reflects the photographer as well as the viewer. It's a meeting, and that these AIs is taking that part out of it, which is somewhat of a concern to us. So.
And for me is we are hunters for the right moment. We hunt for the right moment. Where's the hunting in AI?
Yes.
It's just the throwing together. So it is for AI great, but it's for human. It doesn't help humans because the growth. See, this is a great thing. I think in the creation, when humans create, that's why you have CEOs that work 60 hours a week, tinkering on their car or going in their car. So when you create, when you tinker, that's a human thing that we do, You forget time, you forget space, you become into your human essence. And when that is gone, then that's the growth. When you tinker, that's when you expand. That's when you get ideas. When you tinker around, all of a sudden an idea comes and you don't know where the hell it comes from because you're in the moment. And it's growth. It's you have a problem and you go in your garden and you do the gardening and all of a sudden boom, it comes in. You focus on the plant, but and that's different than when you make a mind construct out of something, when you try to solve something logical. So I think that the creation of anything, art, photography, garden, is inert and needs to be really nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power. I said, you can let AI so then are you gonna go start a garden? Because you can have AI do your photos and nobody has to do photos anymore.
Right.
But you gotta do something else to stay human. Because art and creativity keep the human being the human being. We are all human doings already. We do all day long. And my fear is more to become a robot, as I told you,
yes.
than having robots attack us, because we can be so cruel to each other, which you see when we go away from humanity, we become monsters. Mm-hmm. When we get detached, Putin, all this stuff, and he's just a disturbed human being, but he has lost that, like this talk, for example. We don't know each other, but we just plug right in and we talk.
Yes.
That's the human superpower. That's not, the system says it's not worth anything. You didn't make $1 million just now, and you didn't give 1 million viewers. That's irrelevant. It's the moment that counts.
Between
and
us.
If you throw the moment away, what is there to left? What is there to living to? I mean, you don't need culture. You don't need creation. You don't need a good glass of wine. You don't need good food. They're all unnecessary for the system. But is it worth to live? Are you worth? Is it without romance, or what is life worth living?
Yeah. Michael,
right? I mean,
I hate to say it, we're running out of time. What I want to do is, you have a website, and you said you wrote some books.
Yeah.
If you would like to promote anything, if you would like to mention anything there.
Yeah. I have a podcast that is 30 seconds long, which talks about what we talked about.
Oh, good.
The humane part of art. And I would suggest everybody, if you want to amplify your appreciation for any artistic craft, photography, paintings, music, I guarantee you double your appreciation for it. Mm-hmm. And it's 20 seconds, twice a week. You just listen to it, and it's a seed. It plants. It goes on. I've written 5 books about art, and there's my music on it, and it's michaelm.com.
Okay.
Michael with 2 L's.
We're going to put it down here.
Yeah,
we're going to put a link, and they can get to your books and your podcast.
Books, social media, LinkedIn, if they want to talk to me. Or if you want to have me a talk or a discussion or something. I'm really all about that we really find the true human value in everything. So my true north is humanity, nature, our habitats, and wisdom. Because wisdom is not knowledge. Knowledge is it comes and goes. Mm-hmm. Wisdom is timeless. It's always be. So I think I gave a good example with you guys. We gave a good example of what I'm about.
Absolutely. And one other question I've got, will you come back at a future podcast?
Anytime. And we can do
anytime,
anytime, and we can do specific, like let's discuss stuff like that.
Sure. And if you come back, then you're a Photobug 2-timer.
Oh, I love it. I'm very honored. Guys, you're gents. I appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate your time and fantastic discussion, and look forward to talking again. Fred, do you have anything that you want to?
I think you said it all, Jim. that's not unusual, but
Fred had to just had to do the introduction. That was
that was my part.
That was your part. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for taking the time this morning. And I know we're going to be talking again.
Thank you so much.
And keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Yes, that's what it is. Keep it going. Thank you.